You could almost review Solo two different ways. One for the Star Wars fans that have really grown attached to the property over the years and haven't really liked what Disney's been doing. Or you can take it from a more common, this is a movie, does it do what it sets out to, does it have a good story, characters, etc. I'm going to take it from both sides, that's what she said, and we'll see how it turns out. So I hate The Last Jedi. It should be no secret. I've bitched like a kitten about it for months, and that's not an expression, but I'm making it one. The lack of interest I had in Rogue One magnified times 10 for this one. Rogue One turned out good, I think. I still think it was completely unnecessary and had no real stakes to it or any sort of real tension, but it was well made, well crafted, beautifully shot, nice acting, etc. And the second half I thought worked really well, especially in contrast to the first half that was very kind of monotone, drab, and everything Solo is as well. There is a lot of comparisons, and I am going to do a Movie Feuds episode on Rogue One versus Solo, but let's just dive in. I'm a firm believer that the actor is just as much responsible for bringing a true character to light than even the script. You can have a solid script with brilliant writing and etc., but if your actor doesn't perform well, or if he doesn't make it its own, you just don't have anything there. And Han Solo, by Harrison Ford, is the perfect example of that character. Everybody loves Solo. That's why Disney decided to cash in on the name. The problem is, you didn't have Harrison Ford coming back to do the role because he's like 1,000 years old. They needed to do a prequel story. Well, they didn't need to. I think that's where people are really upset with this, or just kind of like, I don't need to see this film, and I totally get that. It's just so pointless and has so little story to really feed off of. Also, when the fuck did the dice become a thing? I watched the original trilogy a ton of times, and I don't remember the dice ever really being in the equation. They were just kind of an Easter egg in the background as far as I remember. Maybe my judgment's cloudy, but I don't remember that ever being prominent. It's now a thing. This is like a defining factor of Han Solo is these goddamn golden dice. Anyway, I digress. So, wasn't interested in this film. Didn't give a shit about a new character playing Ford, playing Solo. Thought that was ridiculous. And I saw early reviews and early comments saying he better not just do an impression. He better be his own thing. I'm just thinking, why? Why would you want him to be a different person playing the same character? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I remember when Men in Black 3 came out and Thanos, Josh Brolin, was playing Tommy Lee Jones's character. Is it J or K? I always get them mixed up. Doesn't matter. He's playing a young Tommy Lee Jones from like 40 or 50 years in the past, and he's spot on. It's like you're looking at a young Tommy Lee Jones. It's like you're hearing a young Tommy Lee Jones. The transition is seamless. They did the same thing kind of with Obi-Wan in the prequels. As much as I don't like those, Obi-Wan was solid. I think most agree. He was also playing that actor, playing that character. So when people say they didn't want that from this new guy, Alden, I just scratch my head. Like, why would we not want him to be the same? Why would we want him to take the character in a different route? That doesn't make any sense. And that's a problem. And it comes to light in this film, especially when it winds down and you realize, oh, this is Disney's Han Solo. He's not really an asshole. He's not really out for himself like he becomes. Like we're introduced to him in A New Hope. Completely different. Somehow he changed from his fly into New Hope. On that road trip, he changed. Let me get this out of the way. I don't think Solo's a bad movie. I think it's a completely pointless movie. But once again, I'm in that like negative boat on Star Wars right now. If you're going into this movie and you just want to see a fun film with some action, with some comedy, this has got it covered. It looks nice, kind of. We'll get into that later. Alden is playing Solo from like the day before New Hope, as far as I can tell. Maybe it's a couple years. Regardless, Alden as the actor is 28, and Harrison Ford in A New Hope was 33. So we have a 5-year age difference, not a 40. So it's even harder to kind of get the transition from one to the other. It's easy to say, oh, this boy Solo who's 16 years old grows up to be this 33. And even that's a pretty close age. Maybe more like a 6-year-old. But we can't make a 6-year-old Han Solo movie. I mean, we could. Might be just as fun. Let me try shooting first. That's a cool trick. Now this is Kessel running? Alden's perfectly fine in this role, though. He's just not Han Solo like we knew him in the past. He's his own thing. He's his own character that's supposed to be Han Solo. The supporting characters are all good. Woody Harrelson's doing this kind of mentor role in his sleep at this point. Always seems drunk. He probably is always drunk. But he's just kind of like carelessly going through his role, and it just works. He's so good at that. Emilia Clarke as Kira is far better in this than she was in Terminator Genesis. I can say that much. What a disaster that was from every aspect of the film. She's fine in this, and she's definitely a key player I wasn't expecting. She has a lot more screen time than I thought. Everybody's going nuts about Donald Glover as Lando in this. That's fair. He is solid. Every time he's on screen, I have a good time. He kind of elevates the scene. It feels more Star Wars for some reason when he's there. Probably because he is doing a Billy D. Williams, and he's true to the character. I mean, I do believe at one point, it's kind of hinted at he may have fucked a robot. I don't know. It's just Lando doing his thing now. This is Lando now. And speaking of robots, there's got to be a companion. That's the thing. L337 is in this one, I think is the name. The names aren't very good for the robots anymore. R2-D2, C-3PO, those roll off the tongue pretty well. L337's okay. I can't even remember the one's name in Rogue One, but he was an awesome robot. This one's decent. She's kind of like a Nicki Minaj robot. She's got some junk in the trunk. She's thick. And Lando apparently appreciates that. This is a Disney movie. Story-wise, it flows really well. There's some great action sequences like the train robbery. There's a couple James Bond-esque card scenes thrown in. I think those would have worked a little bit better had we known how to play the game. Just might have added another layer to the, oh, look what he did. But it still worked. It still got the job done. The biggest disappointment for me was the Kessel Run, which you knew was going to be in it. That's like the one thing that Harrison Ford's character always bragged about was his Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Once more, I've seen the original trilogy a fair amount of times, mainly as a child. I'd watch it like every day. But I never once thought that the Kessel Run was anything but a race. Maybe it was explained in the movies. I wasn't paying enough attention, even as an adult. I just always assumed that when Ford's like, I did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, that he was talking about a race, which would have been far more gripping and exciting to watch than whatever the hell was in Solo. They're going through some wormholes and taking detours and shortcuts, and the ship is slowing down. It's not a race, and he's not even going fast through most of it. So there's cheating, there's just a lot. It's just silly. And how are they measuring this? Like, what is doing the Kessel Run when you kind of veer off and go, is it from one planet to another? I don't really get the logistics of it all. The first 10 minutes of the film are real rough for me, and I thought, if this is how this thing's going to be, this is a disaster. Thankfully, it changes course quickly, but my God, the first 10 minutes, it's like a blue tint is over everything. It doesn't look good. The cinematography is beautiful, but whatever filters they put over this thing is just ugly, and that goes through most of the film. There's a lot of just washed out color everywhere. And Rogue One, it works so much better. The colors were desaturated, but they still somehow had punch to them. The shadows were really aggressive. The lighting was perfect. And in Solo, it's just flat all the way through. Like, they just kind of half-assed through a filter. And that's probably more to do with Ron Howard than anybody else. He does some amazing movies like Apollo 13, but then he'll turn around and do a Moby Dick. I can't remember what that one was called. It was called Dick. No, that's not right at all. That thing looked like shit. Like glycerine was just smeared all over the screen. Here it doesn't look like shit, but there's something that wasn't done right in post. The humor for the most part worked. I think this would have benefited more though of a Guardians of the Galaxy style route. Really punch up the colors, really have fun with it, go nuts. Because if you are going to take this Solo movie, why ground it in this whole Star Wars brand that has become really kind of dull and boring, and there's not a lot of life to it. As far as the writing goes, it's not that they just tell you one or two little snippets about Solo. They go fucking balls deep with it. It's like, oh, you want to know where he got his last name? Was anybody asking for that? Like, oh, that's how he got the name Solo. Awesome. The music was far and away the best thing for me in this. I couldn't believe how good the score was. Was not expecting that. They do have a Rogue One-ish ending, which made me roll my eyes and kind of scratch my head. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, Otherwise, it was a very kind of by the numbers, by the book approach to a film. There's nothing confusing going on. It's you get all the setup and all the play out that you expect. And yeah, it didn't convert me to thinking, yep, I needed this film. If anything, it made me kind of think, well, this was pointless. Not bad, but absolutely pointless.